All right, we are going to do some practice work with quadrilaterals and polygons. So you should have already watched the video about quadrilaterals, polygons, parallelograms, and other closed figures that are two-dimensional that we find in geometry. I know that you've heard most of the vocabulary in that video before when we've done simple solutions, so it was probably a very good review. But in geometry, especially third grade geometry, there's a lot of new vocabulary that we learn that you may not have learned before in your second grade and first grade. So it's always good to review it. So we're going to do two practices today. The first one is going to only cover quadrilaterals. So you want to find this one that says Classify Quadrilaterals, Reteach 15.4. And we're going to specifically talk about what a quadrilateral is and some of the most common ones. Not all of the quadrilaterals are not on this paper because we've used other ones in simple solutions like rhombuses and other ones. But we're going to use parallelograms, rectangles, and squares. So we know that a quadrilateral is a polygon, and a polygon is a closed two-dimensional figure made up of straight lines. Closed means that it doesn't have openings, it is completely closed, and it also doesn't have any curves. Circles are not polygons. We'll see that even more on the second sheet. Within the groups of polygons, you have special groups. Yesterday we went over triangles, and those are a special group of polygons, and so are quadrilaterals. After you get past triangles and quadrilaterals, the 3 and 4-sided figures, then you really don't have any groups after that. They're just different kinds of polygons, but there's only one in each group. So we're going to look at the most common ones and see how they are different. So if you look at the top of the page, let's review parallelogram, rectangle, and square. So I'm going to start with square. Squares have 4 equal sides. They have 4 right angles. So you have your little boxes in the corner. And their opposite sides are parallel, which remember we went over that word earlier this week when we talked about lines, line segments, and rays, as well as we've reviewed that throughout the year. Parallel sides are the same distance apart in every place, and those lines will never cross each other. They're exactly the same apart. They don't angle at all. So rectangles are similar to squares because they have 4 sides, they have 4 right angles, their opposite sides are parallel, but they are a special type of parallelogram with all their angles equal, and they are not squares. I always have people say, well, squares and rectangles are alike. They're the same. And well, they're not. And you're going to see that they all have kind of a weird grouping as soon as I go through these. Parallelograms have 4 sides. They have 4 angles, but they're not right angles, and the opposite sides are parallel. However, you can see that the sides are slanted, but they're slanted in such a way that they will never cross each other. A parallelogram is a special kind of quadrilateral, and a quadrilateral, let me grab my board here and take my paper off. So, we would draw this at school. So, this is sometimes very confusing. Alright, so we start off with polygons. Then we have quadrilaterals. And we have triangles over here, just to show you that there's many different kinds of polygons. So triangles, quadrilaterals, then we have pentagons and hexagons, etc. Then under the triangles, we've learned that there are 3 kinds. We had right, isosceles, there's actually 4 kinds. Equilateral, and scalene. So we learned about those yesterday. Alright, under quadrilaterals, we have different kinds as well. We have rhombuses, We have parallelograms. Okay, and other kinds, but these are the ones we're going to focus on. Now, parallelograms is a large group. Rhombuses are just one. Parallelograms is then broken down into more groups. Underneath it, we have rectangles. Rectangles are a special kind of parallelograms. And under rectangles, we have squares. Squares are a special kind of rectangle. They are different, but they're a special kind. I'm going to give you a weird little thing to remember. So, polygons, huge group of different closed figures. Quadrilaterals, largest group in the polygons, can be broken down into many smaller groups. And we're looking at one smaller group, and that is the parallelogram group. So, anything within the parallelogram group has four sides. It has four angles. They may not necessarily be right angles, but it has four angles. And the opposite sides, the top and the bottom, are parallel, and the two sides are parallel. Now, underneath parallelograms, you have, so you can see that this parallelogram is different than the rectangle. So, parallelograms is the main group, and it contains this, but then it also contains this and this. So it's like having three lines come down, except that the squares is actually under here. So rectangles are parallelograms. They are a special type of parallelogram. The way that they are different from other parallelograms is that they have four right angles. And all of the sides are, all the angles are equal to each other, and the sides are straight. Now, squares. Squares are a special type of rectangle in which the sides are all equal. Okay? So there's a little rule. All squares are rectangles, but not all rectangles are squares. So when you hear someone say, well, rectangles are the same thing as squares. No, but squares are rectangles. They're a special kind of rectangle. But there are other kinds of rectangles, so you can't say that. But you do say all squares are rectangles, but not all rectangles are squares. Okay, very confusing. We are going to go to the bottom, and we are going to identify quadrilaterals. So we are going to write on 1 through 12. We're going to do it together. Yes or no. And then if we write yes and it has a special name, we are going to write down the special name. So we are supposed to only say if it is a quadrilateral. So we are only looking if it has four sides. You're going to know the names of a whole bunch of these, but you can't write them because they're not quadrilaterals. That's for the next sheet. So don't get ahead of yourself. So number 1, is it a four-sided closed figure? Yes. Does it have a special name? No, it's just it's a quadrilateral. So we would call it an irregular quadrilateral because it doesn't have a special name. Second one, is that a quadrilateral? Is it a four-sided closed figure? Yes. Does it have a special name? Yes, that is a rhombus. Okay. Number 3. Is that a quadrilateral? Is it a four-sided closed figure? Yes. Does it have a special name? Yes. It is a trapezoid. All right, so trapezoid. So we have yes, doesn't have a special name. Yes, rhombus. Yes, trapezoid. Number 4. Is it a four-sided closed figure? No, so it's not a quadrilateral. Yes, I know you know it's a triangle. As a matter of fact, it's an equilateral triangle, but we're not writing the name down unless it's a quadrilateral. Number 5, is that a quadrilateral? Is it a four-sided closed figure? Yes. What kind? Square. All four sides are of equal length. Number 6, four-sided closed figure? Yes. Special name? It is also a rhombus. Some people call it this one a diamond. You can write diamond if you want to. Technically, diamonds are rhombuses. Number 7, four-sided closed figure? No. Do you know the name of it? Yes, but don't write it down. Number 6, number 8, not 6. Four-sided closed figure? No. Do you know the name of it? Yes, but don't write it down. Number 9, four-sided closed figure? No. You know it's a right triangle, but don't write it down. Number 10, four-sided closed figure? No. Number 11, four-sided closed figure? Yes. And we know that that is a rectangle. Okay. And then number 12, four-sided closed figure? Yes. And that is our main grouping one, a parallelogram. Oh my goodness. In geometry, the names are extremely long. So we had yes, but no special name. Yes, rhombus. Yes, trapezoid. No, not a quadrilateral. Yes, square. Yes, rhombus, or you could write diamond. No, not a quadrilateral. No, not a quadrilateral. No, no. Yes, rectangle. Yes, parallelogram. All right, so that is why we went over quadrilaterals, because they are the largest special group underneath polygons, and it takes a good amount of practice with those to make sure you get them. Now, we're going to go on to a fun paper called Polygons. And this one is just going to help us understand all the different kinds of polygons. In two of the situations here, we would find that there are more than one in that grouping, but we just have to remember that that group is made up of more than one. All right, so you'll see that you have a fun picture that grows. You have the names of the different kinds of polygons, and then you have numbers 3 through 10. Seems weird. Where's 1 and 2? Well, 1 and 2 are the directions at the top. Outline each polygon in a different color. I'm going to do the very first one. You can color them in if you want to. So I'm going to outline this one, and I'm actually going to color it in. Okay. So I outlined that one. Then I think about what the name of that is. Well, we've done a whole practice on that. I put my lid on my marker because I'm not writing my answers in marker. And I find it in the box. Well, I know it's a triangle, and I know it has 3 sides, so on the line that says 3, I write triangle. All right? Now, you're going to go on your own, and you're going to outline the next one, the one above it. And you'll notice that it has 4. And you're going to outline or color it, and then you're going to find the name for four-sided polygons and write it on the line. Then you're going to outline the one that has 5 or color it, find the name for 5-sided polygons and write it on the line, and keep going all the way down to number 10. All right, you'll need to take a picture of this page only and show it to me. I don't need to see the other reteach 15.4 because we did it together. But I want to see your finished work on this page, and that'll be your response. So have fun outlining and coloring those. I think they make a really pretty design when you get finished. And those will be turned in May 8th. Or May 15th. We have a few lessons, I think about 3 or 4 to do in math next week. Mostly what we're going to do next week is some reading and math finishing up and a little bit of religion and some social studies. So turn in both of these papers.